Welcome back to the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Championship 2024 qualifier. Jordan Ken alongside EE and Charles bringing you here for the home stretch as we make our way through the loser side of the bracket, eventually to grand finals of our Northwest region. Let's go ahead and check out the bracket and see what action has taken place so far. It is Era in the grand finals right now with Steve taking the 2-1 match victory over Mark SD King, which means our loser semifinal will be Major versus Sawstep. And Major, don't forget, using Ganondorf, and that's going to be against Pitt and Sawstep. So the unconventional choices here, Charles, will face off in the first loser semifinal.
They'll go up against each other to see who will face up against Mark SD King on the Raw. Very close set in the winners finals. Yep. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, we got Ganondorf versus Pitt, a little bit more on the basic side. We're not going to have some DLC action. Obviously, the Steve, very, very strong fighter, right? Being able to build up all those resources and things like that and manipulate what the other fighter does. This is going to be a more all-out brawl here.
Yeah. And, hey, speaking of which, that's a good title for a game back in the past here. And so as you get set for this matchup here, EE, I mean, what we saw from Major and Ganondorf was, again, hard reads. You're not trying to combo. You're trying to look for your opportunities to get in one or two hits. How do you do that against a very swift character like Pitt?
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down, like, your approaches just have to be on key. Like, you can't just run in recklessly and haphazardly. We understand Ganondorf does have the ability to really apply a lot of pressure just because of that strength behind a lot of the hits. But at the same time, you cannot leave yourself vulnerable because it's almost going to be a similar situation, Jordan, when you're off stage. Pitt can be just as much of a menace with Rob. He's got the arrows, of course, and of course that fair can really be a detriment to a lot of those recovery options for Ganon. So play it calm, cool, and collective, and most of all, when you're on stage, utilize any advantage you can take because you're going to need all of it.
Keep this in mind, though, of course, Charles. Pitt, one of the lighter characters, it is not going to take much for Ganondorf to fling them off the stage for a KO.
Yeah, we'll see if Major can go ahead and clip those wings. We do have the switch from Dark Pit to regular Pit here on the side of Sawstep. One of the biggest differences, regular Pit's going to have more control during that neutral before the arrow, right? So you're going to be able to curve it around, and that's going to be really good against Major when Ganondorf is recovering low, and you really kind of want to snipe out those double jumps and stop that air mobility.
And obviously, Sawstep here, EE, appreciates the fact no blocks to deal with. You can finally fire your arrows free and be able to have a little bit of a zoning game.
Yeah, absolutely. Really going to be able to settle into that offense a little bit easier because Ganon not afforded with that ability. However, does have a lot of strength. That dash attack off the flame choke nearly getting the KO. They're going to apply a lot of pressure on the left side. Surprisingly kind of let up a little bit, lets him get back for free, but you know, if I'm Sawstep, I have no complaints about that. Let's see.
And you see Sawstep, Charles, just trying to chase the recovery off stage, keep Major down low. As we know, Ganondorf, not the best double jump in the game. Takes the first stock, though, and Major out to the lead, Charles.
Yeah, great stuff coming out from Major, jumping over that dash forward into the grab. Dash grab, one of the laggier options in the game here. So if you're able to jump over or just avoid that in general, you usually get a pretty big punish. Now Major is trying to survive as long as possible. There's the arrows, forces the double jump, waits out the air dodge as well, and that will be the stock. Very, very clinical stuff coming out from Sawstep off stage.
And that's what you see from Sawstep, just the fundamental play with a fundamental character here, EE. And now just wants to really make sure you're keeping that distance and applying some of that pressure here on Ganondorf, because now Ganondorf doesn't have time to react because you see the speed coming out from Sawstep.
Oh, 100%. You even saw like a couple seconds ago that preemptive recovery up B from, oh my goodness, just coming down with that wizard's foot. Good answer to clear out a landing strip below. Flame choke. Let's see the follow-up. It's going to be the up smash, Jordan. We know Major loves to go for that option.
Gosh, it just has such a wide hitbox and covers so many options. It has been one of the go-to KO moves from Major, and now Major 2-1 stock advantage. However, has yet to been able to make a read on the final stock and spike down to the earth. Sawstep able to pick up that stock, and now we're tied up. And here we go, Charles. Final stock, Sawstep. What do they need to try and accomplish here?
Yeah, you're going to try to get Ganondorf off stage here. Ooh, I love this corner carry going into the downer, comboing into the neutral. Wait, no, doesn't wait out the air dodge, but he still gets the trap here. Do you have the double jump? Yes, you do. what a great recovery. Okay, still no double jump though, and that arrow should do the trick here. Line up the, I mean, at that point, you don't have to line up anything, and Major knew not going to be able to make it back, doesn't even attempt to go for the up special.
Yeah. It's a combination, EE, of not only knowing what you can do with your own fighter, but knowing the limitations of who you're going up against.
Yeah, and that's why I said, like, right before a little bit of that pre-match analysis, I was like, man, for sure, like, it's going to come, that edge guarding can be just as potent, and we saw a perfect example right there. Charles said too, man, that final arrow just like boom. It's not even an impactful hit. It's like boom. You know what I mean? It's like a bee sting to you. You know, gigantic Jordan over here. It ain't not. You're not really gonna feel it, but it makes such an impact. That is the problem. So we're gonna hope to see if Game 2 can yield some better effects.
I'm still not messing with no bees.
Oh, of course.
Still
don't get it twisted.
Ain't gonna see me scoop bees anytime soon.
No,
Here we
sir.
go. Game 2. Let's see if Sawstep can pick up the victory, advance to losers finals. And right now, if you're Major, you did a pretty solid job, Charles, in that last game of some of those early reads, but the game really got away from you as Sawstep just consistently hounded you.
Yeah, and I mean, it really came down to those neutral specials, right, coming out from Sawstep. Those arrows are so powerful. One option that Major does have is you can go ahead and swing at the arrows as well. You can clank them out with your own hitboxes, so you don't utilize, or you don't have to force the air dodge, right? Because in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you only have one air dodge in the air. You got to use it wisely.
Major taking that first stock in EE. You love the read on the ledge there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when Major finds himself in a position like he is content to just put a lot of pressure on, whether it be with their, no, oh my goodness, and that's the kind of things you hate to see, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunate SD like that to just give up the stock, unprovoked, but it does happen. But that's the thing, man. You just got to get right back into the game. Having a short memory at times can do you a lot of justice.
Now Major, again, not where they want to be. Off stage, able to get back on, finally latches onto that ledge, and Sawstep, we know what the blueprint is. Get Major off the stage, use those arrows to assist you here, Charles.
Yeah, but right now Major has all the center stage control. Wait a minute, something's starting up here for Sawstep. Not going to go ahead and charge the arrow. Tries to curve it down that way, and you can just see how much curve you have here. Oh, off the side special here. Great read. That side tilt covered so many different options, and the Nair just throwing out all these active hitboxes. This is Major on this right side. Sawstep taking quite a bit of damage, waiting out the orbiters as well.
Major needs one more solid hit, you feel like, to take that stock from Sawstep to maintain lead in this second game. Major fighting for their tournament lives here has been so good, EE, reading those ledge recovery options and continues to do so. How about Sawstep staying alive at 145, though?
Yeah, that's credit to him because there's been a lot of rinse and repeat for sure from Major. Not able to come up with the KO just yet, but Sawstep, to your point, Jordan, able to survive long enough where maybe can reassume some control. That's an excellent grab. Shouldn't be a down throw. Yep, looking for the big follow-up. Going to settle for the Nair, and that's actually going to be enough to KO. Insanity unfolding in game number 2.
Huge turn of events here. Sawstep, now you just need to be very careful, and that's not careful right there. And that brings us down to our final stock, and Major has a chance to extend this to a game 3. The grab followed by the dash, but how about the back air followed by the dash as well from Sawstep here, Charles?
Yeah, Sawstep knowing well that since these earlier percents, not going to have too much knockback, so you can go for some of these reversal situations. There's a forward smash, missing the mark here on the shield. Major able to get the punch. Oh, just barely out of range of that flame choke. That could have been everything here. Neutral still connecting for Major, and the up smash!
Who else but Major?
You saw it coming, You recoiled because you knew what was going to be eventual. And those reads off the ledge, it is very satisfying. So satisfying. Let's get some more folks to main Ganondorf so we get a chance to see more of that here.
Ganon is easily one of my favorite characters, whether it's watching or playing, and Major really bringing him to the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Championship 2024 qualifier stage and doing it in a major way. Got to give him props. I can't wait for this game number 3 because he has earned it.
Game 3 to advance to losers finals. Major teetering on the edge there for a moment, but a couple of heavy hits in the up smash has forced a game 3, and now it'll be very fascinating to see what stage we get here, Charles, because that could go a long way towards how much room Sawstep has to work with.
Yeah, and we do have Kalos here, and that's going to give a little bit more options for Major to recover those platforms out right above the ledge here. So Major, we saw some early up specials coming out from Major in all these different stages, but now going to have that extra platform to land on.
And so far, Major has been the one that has been doing the correct reads. You saw a couple of aerials even coming out, and Sawstep just can't connect on some of these hits. Finally able to string it into a couple. into a combo, but nice recovery. Just trying to avoid that disadvantage state is Major right now, EE.
Yeah, and doing a pretty good job at that as well. One good thing that's going to help him out a lot, he accumulated a lot of damage on to Pit at the start of things. So right now, obviously struggling a little bit to get back, but does have the recovery route to do just that. Oh, this could be huge, and it will be wild. Trapped in that corner, nowhere to go but to the blast zone.
And you're seeing so many times some risky propositions on the ledge here, Charles, by Sawstep, when you know that Major, if they make the read, it's not going to take much to send you into the blast zone. And so far, Major's been able to take advantage of the over-aggressiveness from Sawstep.
Oh my goodness, and there goes Major trying to take the stock at 20%, but you know what? That happens to Ganon all the time, so sometimes you got to return the favor.
So we saw Major trying to go off stage and stunt. Instead, takes the KO, and that's going to be the first stock for Major, but 47% on Sawstep. You get the sense that Major just needs to be able to get Sawstep off this stage a little bit. Excellent hit right there. Excellent out of shield option as well, too, here, EE, for Sawstep.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, these options right now from Sawstep are coming out, but not making the biggest of impact. Meanwhile, the Nair right on the left side almost going to be enough to KO. Maybe a little bit of rinse and repeat here from Major. No, he's going to mix it up a little bit. The tilt action coming through all kinds of ways. You don't see Ganon oftentimes, Jordan, be able to press somebody on the ledge, but somehow Major's making it work.
Major just looking for one more hit dash attack. Still not enough to do it as Sawstep staying alive at 159, Major at 60. Major trying to avoid a combo coming here from Sawstep. Sawstep able to pursue a little bit more. And then the back here coming out, and now Sawstep has got Major exactly where they want him here, Charles.
Yeah, got a decent amount of damage, has the rage, but the dash attack coming out from Major. Going to be strong and active coming out here from Ganondorf. Oh, there's the neutral, trying to get into the flame choke, trying to really get this reset and even more damage. Dash attack into the neutral area here. And oh my goodness, Major, you're on a slow character, but you are moving quite quick here. Going for this edge guard, perhaps? No.
Major trying to advance to losers finals with Ganondorf, trying to get back on the stage first of all. We've seen a flurry of dash attacks coming out. Major avoids it. Oh, the footstool, trying to switch, gets back onto the stage. Oh, the grab, and finishes up with the up smash. And how about Major? The aggressiveness and the reads, an unbelievable display of skill with Ganondorf EE.
There is like, oh my goodness, bro. Like that whole match was a clip. Like there were so many clippable moments that you could just add to your highlight resume, repertoire, whatever, because that was a clinical execution for how to pilot Ganondorf at a high level. A good effort from Sawstep, no doubt about it, but when you step up against Ganon, you got to bring it big time, and it wasn't big enough to handle Ganon.
So thank you, Sawstep, for your participation, but now we've got Major and Ganon going into losers finals as we take a look at the bracket at this moment, and now that's going to put Major up against Mark SD King, a rematch of our winner semi, which was a very close 2-1 Mark SD King match victory. And this time around, what do you think is the strategy here for Major, Charles? Because you know Mark SD King with that Rob has all sorts of tools to make it a zoning game, to create some space. How do you try to fight through that?
I think the main thing for Major is really tracking the Nair usage and the back air usage. These are going to be moves that Rob is going to have access to that have a lot of range and a lot of activity, right? Two things that Ganon's not going to really want to deal with, being as slow and cumbersome and trying to air with the neutral air. I mean, Ganon's got a bit of range, but usually most of these fighters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate going to outrange Ganondorf, right? So it's really big, and especially the new parry mechanic in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be a big deal here for Major. Maybe you can get some parries, and that's the great thing about a lot of these active hitboxes. The window to get the parry is going to be much larger.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Shout out to the DJ stage music from Street Fighter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So here we go. Major trying to put a little bit of pressure on Mark SD King. Instead, here comes just a flurry of jabs. And Mark SD King has so many, as we said before, tools at their disposal, just different angles that they can hit you with. That's going to make things very difficult for Ganon, EE.
Absolutely. But the good thing that's going here for Major is understanding, okay, well, I've already done this matchup before. It did go game 3, so I know I'm capable of certainly getting a game. I just have to be able to seal the deal and close it out. But right now, I am seeing Mark. He is playing like a man possessed right now. So much control. Again, it tends to be a bit of a trend in this tournament. That left side being put on lockdown, and that first stock going to be KO'd courtesy of the back air from Rob.
Yeah, Charles, so much aggressiveness with that gyromite right now.
Yeah, and that was a really good counterplay coming out from Mark SD. Mark SD actually lost the stock, and that was what I had on the telestrator there. So perfect counterplay, just going for the jump back air to counter that. But unfortunate directional air dodge. Major thought going to make it back to the ledge, but barely just missing. Now it's 3 stocks to 1, only 15% on this robot.
Combo food at the moment as Mark SD King is eating. Major, see just the up smash to try and punish the landing. Mark SD King knows wiser than that. Charged robo beam into the gyro, tried to follow it up. Barely able to get that shield up for the EE.
Yeah, this is, I mean, there is no breathing room being given right now for Major, having just no answers against Mark SD King, who is very much so trying to let us know, hey, that first time we had that encounter up there in Winter Semis, yeah, that wasn't a fluke. That was just my ability to dominate a game and take it over. Perfect display right there, as that 3 stock is going to be how we start off Losers Finals.
Charles, as the kids say, left no crumbs. Mark SD King just putting on a clinic at that moment.
Ooh, man, that was tough. And Mark SD saying, hey, I'm not playing Pit, I'm playing Rob. This character, very powerful, very strong. Unfortunate SD, so I would say like a maybe 2 and a 2.5-ish stock. But it was still not so pretty nonetheless for Major.
Yeah, and you wonder if Major possibly try Ganondorf one more time, or do you maybe look at a different fighter, because that really wasn't too close. I mean, we'll find out here. But listen, Major, you've rode Ganondorf this far. Go the distance with Ganondorf. You got to go the distance. So here we go. Game 2, EE. Any adjustments you see here for Major to try and make it a little bit more competitive?
Oh, man. I mean, it's so difficult, right? Because, like, the obvious answer is, like, dude, stay on stage as long as you can. But Rob oftentimes does not give you the option to that. I do like the preemptive recovery on that dark dive. That's going to help out a little bit. But look at this. I mean, the utilization of all the tools in the kit right now for Mark SD King are what makes it so difficult for Ganon. So I'm going to say it's going to be a combination of solid reads and just like hoping that your opponent makes a few more mistakes on the edge guarding to just give some second chance opportunities.
Finally, Major was momentarily, Charles, able to get back on stage. Gets back to the middle after what feels like nearly 30 seconds, and you got to watch out for that up smash. Now all of a sudden, Major stabilized things a little bit more.
Yeah, one sequence already 84%, was able to get the down air after the flame choke and the up smash on the normal getup. And my goodness, Major has just impeccable timing on these up smashes.
It's crazy.
Takes the first stock from Mark SD King and is showing no signs of slowing down as Mark SD King has to fight back into this one now, and now we're seeing EE a little bit more of an aggressive approach here from Major.
Yeah, and it's panning out for him thus far. Okay, obviously. I mean, sometimes there's nothing you can do about a situation that you're in, so I would not even think twice about that. It doesn't look like that is the case. Nice nair coming immediately off of the Angel platform, and here's the big-time setup, and the big dash attack eats that stock up, and Major with a major lead right now in Game 2.
Excellent read to take the second stock, and now Major has a huge advantage to try and force a Game 3 in Losers Finals. Rob, a couple of jabs, again, out of shield option, perfectly read by Major. Major this time around here, Charles, I think the difference is not going to give Mark SD King any time or space to operate.
And I love the answer to Nair as well. Instead of going for things like parry Major, just whiff punishing with the flame choke, the side B, and especially if you're able to get the read afterwards, you get so much reward. Oh my goodness, get out of the way! Get out of the way!
Buckle up, baby! Sent to another planet as Major takes Game 2, and all of a sudden, this got very, very interesting.
Well, you know what happened? He did not get bullied off the stage. He kept the aggression on, and he held that up smash until Kingdom Come, okay? I mean, and charged up that Warlock punch, boom, sent him to Timbuktu, and sent us to game number 3.
Oh, what a show. What a show. We need more Ganondorf in this world. Game 3 here between Mark SD King and Major. Okay, we saw the adjustment here, Charles. Be aggressive, continue to put your foot on the pedal, and here we go. Game 3, winner goes to Grand Finals. Will Ganondorf punch his way there, or will Mark SD King find a way to reprogram himself and figure out the solution to this otherworldly Ganon?
Oh man, and that up smash scenario is just so funny because it's like a game of chicken, right? You don't want to get out of the way because if Ganon releases it early and you jump, it'll catch your jump.
Yep.
So there's a lot of reasons why Mark SD stayed in shield there, and Major just utilizing the fear factor of Ganondorf. So we'll see if Major can close it out with the fear factor here, Game 3, Jordan.
And Major chasing down some of these landings here for Mark SD King, and doing a better job of avoiding the gyros, eats the robo beam, trying to throw the gyro right back at Mark SD King, still hanging on to it. Mark SD King rotates out of there, and now Major offstage nearly avoids the down air though. EE.
Yeah, got to be real careful. Understand, a lot of times Ganondorf will elect to kind of come up and almost try to ride the stage, but Rob, of course, with that spike can definitely, use those burners and catch you lacking a little bit. That is something, of course, Major going to have to be very aware of as he is trying his best to avoid any of these follow-ups. Mark SD King looking for them, but none of the options being presented at the moment. And this is a very scary Ganon at 138. That's a lot of rage to deal with.
Yeah, dash attack will create a little bit more breathing room, and now in the middle of the stage, you figure, what's the next move here, Charles? It seems like Major does a better job of getting Mark SD King off to the ledge.
Ooh, and there's the flame choke. It's going to be hard, yeah. Oh, but the forward air is enough, and Major takes the first stock, and Mark SD King is utilizing a lot less nair because doesn't want to get whiff punished by the flame choke. Punch play a more horizontal gameplay, but Major doing a great job of adapting to it.
And right now, a little back and forth, not many punches being thrown at the moment, but gyro right back into the face of Mark SD King. Out of shield option coming out. Major having to eat that aerial. Major now just fighting to get back onto the stage. And how about the patience, EE, of avoiding that down air in back-to-back situations, but now has to take the stock.
There's a bit of psychology that goes on with this too, man, because you understand, like, there's the part of, like, I just don't want to lose the Ganon, like, at this level, as well as the fact of, like, man, I beat him earlier. Like, I should not have this much of a problem. But I'll tell you what, there's something to be said about getting your get back and being able to get a run back, and Major definitely making the most of that gyro in hand. Maybe can use that to alleviate some pressure on the recovery. Flame choke, nobody home. That's going to be the great opening for Mark SD King, and just a lot of pressure coming from both sides. But I love the grit and grime between these two. Just an absolute scrap fest, Jordan.
The Ganon arc of this tournament continues to excite and thrill, and now both fighters second stock, nearly the same percentage. Who is going to be the one that can get that final hit here to try to get a little bit of an advantage? Winner moves on to grand finals. Up smash, not enough. The landing, though, how about Mark SD King able to get back down to earth and apply some pressure, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, you need to get down back to earth and apply that pressure, like you said, Jordan, and then get these off-stage recoveries coming out from Major. How many times did we see in the first set Mark SD King was able to get the edge guards? That's such a big deal, but Major is able to get back to the ledge, back on stage every single time and make these stocks last. 143%. The last stock was 170. The number just keeps going up and up, Jordan.
Spot dodge to avoid the robo beam. Has a chance to punish. Still not enough. Mark SD King sitting at 116. Oh, but there's another one. Major, though. Now, EE, you figure you've got to get some sort of damage here. You're sitting at 158, but Mark SD King wants to close the second stock as quick as possible.
Oh, 100%. And he's going to do his best to maybe get a grab here. Even a back air would suffice, but at the same time, you don't want to leave any options available and none to be found there on that recovery route. Great utilization of the dare, and we got ourselves a flat stock situation in a loser's finals that has been as compelling as anything I've seen.
Ganondorf trying to hang in there with Major. Mark SD King just trying to use all of those tools that Rob has to create a little bit of space, but so far, Charles, Major reading it. Oh, the down smash isn't enough! Yes! Major makes his way to grand finals. They're losing their minds in Gerudo Valley right now.
Oh my goodness. Dude, and what was that based off? That was based off, okay, I understand the position I'm in. Oh, okay, I have several tools, especially that flame choke that he relied on so much to be a great command grab option. And then the down smash, up smash, any kind of smash, it just worked out for Major. Gets his get back from winners, semis, and gets a trip to grand finals as well. Insane.
What was that, 65% for Rob, it felt like?
Yes.
It was nothing. It was still yellow. It was still yellow. You're not supposed to be able to do that, but unbelievable. Let's go ahead and check out the bracket as we make our way to grand finals. And now it's Era versus Major. First matchup between these two in the Northwest. The winner will get an opportunity to be invited to the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Championship 2024 tournament. A lot on the line here, and this is going to be thrilling because now you got Steve.
Yeah.
Top of the tier list, whoever you talk to. Then you've got Ganondorf, who I figure after this performance alone, Charles, might move up to D-. I don't know.
D-.
Give my
A
boy
solid
something.
C?
Give him something. But what do you see in this matchup? I mean, obviously, this is very interesting. We don't see this one too often.
Yeah, and Major is not done climbing the tier list mountain.
Apparently.
He's getting to the peak, got over Rob, and now you got to fight up against Steve. And we talked about it. Some of these characters that even have the range, even have the mobility, can struggle versus a character like Steve because of the blocks. Well, Ganon doesn't have that much mobility, and the range, on some of the slower attacks, Ganon is going to have the range. He brings out the sword for those smash attacks, right? But when is Ganon really going to find the opportunity to do something like that and not get punished is the big question here. So what does Major have to do? Well, I think this is the same thing as last match. You're going to have to get in, get your hands dirty, and get some reads.
And this will be fascinating because you get the sense here, EE, you just have to apply pressure the entire time. You can't give Era any moment to build those walls, and so far Era just in full control.
Yeah, I mean, Ganon doesn't have the luxury of like having a projectile or really having any tools that's going to allow you to keep a safe distance while you're able to apply some pressure. So he's going to have to be the whole time just up close and personal and getting into a little bit of a scrap fest. And that, although it'll benefit Ganon in the fact that of course he has just those big hard hits, it's still Steve, man. He's just the toolkit is seemingly endless with this character, and Era's got to know. But maybe you can utilize Era being potentially a little bit overconfident to at least steal a game number one. You never know.
Well, what's going to be fascinating is, Charles, you imagine Major has faced a lot of Steve players as Major takes the first stock. But Major has faced a lot of Steves. I don't think Era has faced a lot of Ganondorfs to get to this point.
That's going to be the main curveball here, and you already see Major's knowledge against this Steve matchup here. Going ahead and nair through that anvil coming down here. Here's the flame choke, gets the dash attack to cover multiple options here. And if this connects, oh man, great delay. Great delay coming out from Era, but oh my goodness, that forward tilt almost takes a stock.
So now 3-2 stock advantage for Major has racked up 109 on the second stock. Is that going to be enough to eject Major off the stage? That anvil, no, but gives Major new life by sending him upwards, EE.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean,
two stocks for Major.
This is kind of what I wanted to see. I'm like, you have to make it a scrap fest. You have to be up close and personal. He has checked every single one of those boxes and deleting a couple of his own on that recovery as well. Still keeping 3 stocks intact. Era, maybe welcome him to the Ganondorf era because it is a one-sided battle right now.
So here we go, 2-1 stock advantage. Major racking up 52% at this point, and so far, I guess the question here, believe it or not, Charles, is what does Era need to do to create a little bit of space?
Well, I mean, the offstage obviously always going to be where you want to strike versus Ganondorf. Era going to have a lot of options. You can create blocks offstage and go for things like that down tilt, just a lot of active hits there, right? And you can also go ahead and try to get the 2-frame with that as well if Ganondorf is going to the ledge with that up special here. But man, I just feel like Era might not be respecting Ganondorf
not at all
as much because, I mean, we usually see Era try to set up the wall and then go for the mining against it. I think Era's opting to just fight up against Ganondorf, and you might have to put more respect on my boy here.
And that's what I'm thinking. You don't want to start brawling with Ganondorf here, EE. You want to use the things that separate you. And how about this? Major picks up game number 1 against Era. As I said before, take your tier list and just shred it up at this point, EE.
A little sneaky game 1 robbery. I'm okay with that. I mean, to Charles' point, Era came into that just so overconfident in the approach, right? There was no urgency on getting materials, setting up blocks, none of that. It was just like, I'm just going to fight you straight up. Bro, that's Ganondorf. That's Ganondorf. What are you doing? You have the tools to stay away. Consider using them for game 2.
Link never approaches without tools. What makes you think that Steve can?
It takes 50 hours just to get to the first fight. There's a reason for that.
Haven't you learned anything over the last 35 years? Here we go. Let's see if Steve can turn things around and start building resources. Not a good start. 53% out the gate. Major already flexing some muscle, trying to reset the bracket, EE.
You know, what would it say, Jordan? We've had the pleasure of doing a lot of these regions between last week and this week. Perhaps the first reset we see is courtesy of a Ganondorf player making the run of a lifetime in losers? This is nuts.
I love it. I love it. But don't count out Era yet. Nice little response to rack up 67, and those up airs really starting to juggle the big, large Ganondorf target here, Charles.
Yeah, finally getting a good amount of damage, just setting up the TNT here, going right into the up smash, and you see that Era just setting up a lot of different traps and really restricting Major's options here. Ooh, okay, the back air off, the bounce, the terrain, and just like that, you got to avoid the minecart, but then the pickaxe is there waiting for you.
Very unfortunate, EE, that Wizard's Foot ricocheted Major off that block and just set him up for Era to close things out, but Major quickly picks up another stock, and now we're at 2-2 each.
Yeah, you talk about setups, man. That flame choke has been the go-to for much of this tournament run from Major. Continues to be one of the go-to tools, as it should be. Trying to shred through the blocks right there, continue a lot of this pressure string, and you can tell Era making more of a conscious effort to try and put a little more distance between them, and I love that dark dive. We're coming right back to the stage. All the aggression in the world really serving Ganondorf well right now.
Got to be careful with those Wizard's Foots, though, Charles, because you see just how high of a recovery and lag it creates and just makes you a sitting duck. And now we're seeing Major get to where they want to be, on the ground. And at this point here, if you're Major, you just continue to apply the pressure, Charles.
Yeah, and one thing I did notice is Ganon hitting really hard helps a lot. Has solid range as well.
Here we go. 2-1 Major trying to reset the bracket. Needs to pick up one more game. At this point, we'll see if Era can switch things up. Era is yet to really deploy a lot of those blocks as a wall, though, EE.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, I don't know if it's a bit of a stubbornness, because at one point I thought we were starting to see that kind of like traditional Steve play, but yet again, just right back in the fray. Not respecting these options from Ganondorf.
Bye-bye. Oh, hit the reset button, and let's get set for another grand finals, because Major is not here to play, folks. Major is ready to make some noise with Ganondorf, and that was a quick 2-0, Charles. 2-0. There wasn't a single game taken, and there needs to be some serious recalibrating on the behalf of Era because of everybody that Major has played having the most dominance over Era.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when Major is breaking your ankles like that, especially that last sequence, man, that was, wow. I mean, even in the victory sequence, Ganondorf was just laughing, laughing at Steve. It's just like, is that all you got?
Yeah.
Insane. And right now, Major is just going all out, getting all of these back-to-back reads. And even though Steve a little on the heavier side, it doesn't really matter too much because Ganon hits so hard. And another thing I noticed, since Ganon hits so hard, even some of these stone blocks that a lot of characters have to hit 2 to 3 times, Ganon sometimes just does one move and those blocks just evaporate. So this matchup might be a little bit more difficult than we think on surface level at the very least. The big thing that has to change up is this Ganondorf has to get edgeguard and win off stage. Like, this has to turn into a stock.
And that's the issue. You wonder if the fact that Era's probably very unfamiliar with how to exactly ledge trap and edge guard, what you're going to see here from this Ganondorf is leading to what we're seeing so far here.
I mean, 3 hits and he's at 63. I mean, that tells you all you need to know about the power of this character, doing a phenomenal job. And yeah, really getting a break, you know, to both of you guys' points on the edge guarding, right? Like, that has been one of the things that really limits Ganondorf as being a bit of a threat in a lot of matches. When you have somebody like Era who's not properly delivering those edge guards, it's almost a free pass back to the stage, and we continually see that be the difference in a big-time fair. Almost slays off that first stock, but Era narrowly going to survive. But I like the position Major continues to find himself in.
There's that wall, finally buys a little bit of time. And here's an interesting wrinkle. You saw double sets of walls there, Charles, just to prevent, because as you pointed out, Major just cuts through them like a hot knife through butter and takes the first stock.
Yeah, forward air and down tilt, MVPs for taking out this block here into the forward air, but it's not going to get the spike here. Directional air dodge, another chance for Major. Going to go ahead, but the great block placement. Finally, we're seeing Era adjust and adapt on these off-stage interactions.
And that's what you're thinking here, EE. That looks so simple. How come you can't rinse and repeat that every time you send Ganondorf off the stage? We'll see if Era finally had something click.
Yep.
But so far, flings Ganondorf off the stage. Ganondorf able to recover.
Ooh.
And Era now starting to slow down. Are the puzzle pieces starting to fit together? We'll see. But the up smash is going to apply a lot of pressure, EE.
Yeah, maybe starting to come together a little bit. Not too little or too late for sure, but I did notice some adaptation finally around like the flame choke that we're seeing Major go for a lot, as well as, you know, to the point of getting that, maybe have a little bit of sense of how to edge guard a little bit more thoroughly and reliably, which would be a tremendous help to this Steve. I can't believe I have to say that for Steve versus Ganondorf, but that is the situation we find us in. Major is just that gifted, but Era starting to piece it together and figure things out.
And how about Major navigating all that traffic to get back on the ledge, only to be sent off again. And here comes that block. Goes through it, though, nice. And then all of a sudden, Era takes the second stock. Era trying to pick off the first game against Major. Major needs to get a quick KO here, though, Charles.
Okay, the down tilt not going to connect, but makes it back, and it's just barely enough against Era. My goodness, this is still even here, but I will say I think Era is adapting a lot faster. Even on stage 2, we're seeing a lot more just up tilts getting thrown out, straight forward airs and back airs to beat out some of these flame choke approaches, right?
Oh,
and now you see the anvil come down, and all of a sudden, Era, I think here, EE is starting to figure things out and use a lot more tools and throw a couple of more wrenches into the gear system here for Major.
Yeah, I would almost say reluctantly has realized, all right, I need to respect Gannon a little bit more, even at some degree. Yeah, but, even with that realization, that doesn't take away from the offense that Major continues to apply. Like, we're on our final stocks and flirting with triple digits right now is Era, and you best believe Major knows that he has put the fear throughout Era the entirety of this set. No reason to think it's not going to be the same situation. Oh, my goodness, during this final stop.
Here it is. Arrow sitting at 112. Major just trying to get back on the stage. How about the read? Is it going to be enough, though? Major barely trying to get back on. Major still alive, but no recovery left in the tank as Era takes the first game. And Charles, I think this is starting to get very interesting because I think Era is starting to figure out how you approach this Ganon fighter.
Yeah, I think Era adapting in multiple places as well. We saw these edge guards come to place. I mean, 2 of them right there in that first game. Still very close, but even in neutral, I feel like Major was getting away with a lot of flame choke, and Steve has some of the best attacks in the entire game. You can up tilt very fast, very low cooldown as well, and you can move while you do it, right? So sometimes you just have to cover yourself in hitboxes when your opponent simply can't beat them out, and especially if they're throwing out a lot of these command grabs, right, since the attacks do beat the grabs here. So great adaptation coming out from Era, and we're seeing a lot more respect on my boy Ganondorf here.
Game 2, Era can claim the championship for the Northwest with a victory here. Major trying to force a Game 3, and already EE, you see a completely different approach coming out from Era with the TNT and the wall, just setting up a lot more hazards for Major to navigate.
Yeah, Era 100% realized, okay, you know what? Do I really want to risk going down to the wire in a game number 3? No. Let me try and put this away in 2-0 fashion. That's may be my best bet. But, even if you realize that, that doesn't necessarily mean that Major is going to give you the option about it. You see all this pressure he's already accumulated, but to Era's credit, striking back in a major way, no pun intended, to get things even with this percentage.
See the TNT coming out. That's going to lock off part of the stage here. He's already racked up 130 against Major. Here comes the minecart. That's going to take the first stock, Charles.
Yeah, now Major still holding forward, holding that W key as far as possible, and now Era taking these little faint step backs and getting huge punishes, especially that minecart, catching that dash attack here. So Major might have to slow down the pace here and kind of adjust to what Era has already adjusted to him and from that first set, right?
Yeah, you get the sense that all of a sudden Major's being a little too aggressive and not looking for those openings and make those reads and those mistakes that Era might make, and it's Era that's making Major pay.
Nice. I love that block placement right there. Okay, that was like the pretty much get out of jail free card for that follow-up from Major, and still even that Nair middle of the stage not going to be enough to KO just yet. 173, that's a pretty dangerous percent for Steve to be at, and finally he's going to drop that stock, but not without putting a clean 82 on this Ganondorf, who's still fighting for survival in this second set of Grand Finals.
Yeah, he saw Major connect with the Nair, but then eat the minecart once again, and all of a sudden Era's got Diamond, it appears, and so that's going to help them build a little bit more pressure. Nearly a shield break and an opportunity that was missed thanks to the plat. But now Era 2-2. All of a sudden it's getting a little closer here, Charles.
Oh, and these flame chokes are coming out. Wrong read on the up smash there. Tries to jump up and over, but the minecart just going to take up all of that airspace there. Now Major is behind here. No rage. Dash attack going to rack up a good amount of damage. Gets rid of the crafting table here. Trying to find the hit. Gets the Nair 1, but Nair 2 is the one you want.
Potential final stock of the tournament. Major at 30%, Era fresh back onto the stage, and now EE, here's an opportunity. Major's got to be very careful, but what we're seeing already, Era's not going to step off the gas. Era's going to be the aggressor here.
Yeah, Era really has an opportunity to just kind of take this all the way. We've seen a lot of good utilization of the blocks this time around. The minecarts have been immaculate. All this could very well be leading to a big win for this Steve. It was looking all but certain that the Ganondorf was coming in with all the momentum, but certainly has slowed things down en route to maybe taking this 2-0 on the reset. Don't want to speak too soon, but we're seeing it.
Yeah, grab into the back throw. Still alive at 126 is Major. Era trying to close this out, claim the title for the Northwest. Misses the opportunity. Minecart no good. Here's the grab and another dash attack. Major trying to force a game 3 here. Back and forth they go. Any hit. Is that going to be enough? No. Era avoids it. Era still alive at this point, trying to get back onto the stage. And Charles climbing off the ledge. At any moment, whoever blinks first is probably going to lose this one. Will this do it? Yes! Era is your champion for the Northwest, but had to earn it the hard way. A reset coming from Major, but at the end, Charles, I think showed the adaptation and utilizing those advantages that make Steve such a powerful fighter at full force against a Ganondorf that is a force of nature we hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, and just understanding the spacing as well. Obviously, Ganon does do quite a bit of damage on all the moves, but that comes with a little bit more end lag, right? Utilizing that shield, that quick sword out of shield with the Sword Fair and the Sword Bear as well. So just doing that just changed the pace of the game and was able to slow things down, speed things up whenever Era needed to, and nailing those offstage edge guards, right? And then even towards the end, there was about 2 to 3 flame choke opportunities for that read, and Era was able to get out of every single one of them. Hard-earned, well-earned fight there, and was able to close out grand finals in their favor 2-0, just returning it just from the first set, right?
Let's go ahead and check out the final bracket to wrap up the day of action for the Northwest. Congratulations, Era getting the victory here over Major 2-0 in that bracket reset. And so now that means Era will have an opportunity to be invited to the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Championship 2024 tournament. We'll take home 10,000 My Nintendo Gold points as well. But an enthralling day of action, EE, and the Ganondorf that we saw from Major is one that we won't forget anytime soon.
Oh, no doubt about that. I mean, you look at, we had Rob, Pitt, Ganon, Steve, and, in this circumstance for this region, the top of the tier list could not be toppled. It was Steve holding that status quo, but did not do it without having to face some adversity, which I really appreciated. Finally got to see a reset in one of these, and courtesy of Ganon of all characters, but he definitely brought the fight. But kudos to Era for adapting on the fly, and especially against a character that can really apply so much pressure. It can make you a little bit, make those hands a little shaky, but he definitely calmed it down when he needed to, and he earned that victory.
All right, well, we want to tell you about one more opportunity to compete in some competitive Super Smash Bros. Ultimate action. Make sure coming up later this month, June 16th, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Nintendo vs. Challenge Cup June 2024 tournament in-game, a chance to compete against some of the best across the globe. So a lot of excitement there as well, too. But we put a bow on this one, and just one more final thought here, Charles. Just we oftentimes talk about with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate the fighter diversity and how anybody can win on a given day. And it goes to show you look at all the tier lists, Steve at the top, Ganondorf at the bottom, but you saw just how competitive that final match was.
Oh, yeah, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. Any fighter specialist can really break down all these different matchups and have all the different counterplay, and that's the most exciting thing to watch about Smash Brothers. And especially with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there's so many other fighters you can pick from, and they all feel fairly powerful as well. Might not be on the top of the tier list, but you can definitely make a lot of these fighters work. So that's my favorite thing to watch about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, is watching all these fighter specialists really push their characters beyond limits that we thought couldn't be passed.
Well, both of you, fantastic job. Always a pleasure. For Jordan, Ken, EE, and Charles, our wonderful production crew as well, too. Thank you again for joining us. Don't forget, coming later this year, the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Championship 2024 tournament. You will not want to miss that. Keep it posted to Nintendo Versus for all of your Nintendo competitive action. From all of us here, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll see you next time.